It is time now for our daily fact-checking segment, Truth or Fake. And for that, I'm joined today by Emerald Maxwell. Hi, Emerald.
Hi, Thomas.
Now, you're going to be telling us about a video that's been doing the rounds amongst people who support the Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro. It appears to show, it shows the former president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, on a trip to Paris, and he gets insulted, it would appear, by French students. What's all this about?
Yes, so the leftist is currently leading in the polls ahead of the Brazilian presidential elections next year. And he was in Paris as part of a European tour to sort of restore his reputation after a rocky few years for him and also for Brazil. So as part of that tour, he was visiting Sciences Po University in Paris, where this offensive video emerged, or rather two versions of it emerged. Lula himself shared the moment when he was greeted by students performing a Brazilian batucada, which is a sub-style of samba, usually performed by an ensemble playing percussion instruments. Let's have a look at a very short snippet. So you can see there that Lula stops and watches it for a while and then he moves on. But actually, that wasn't the version that was being shared by right-wing President Jair Bolsonaro supporters. They were sharing an alternative version with captions, which makes it supposedly explains what's happening, but it makes it seem as if the group are shouting "Filha da puta" at the president, Portuguese for son of something. And it's true that it sort of sounds like that's what the Parisian students are shouting. Also, Lula's not so overly enthusiastic reaction could lead one to believe that maybe he was being insulted, although you can't really see his face, of course, with his mask. Anyway, this version was shared widely on numerous pro-Bolsonaro social media groups, attracting comments like "Lula given a fitting welcome."
But of course, that wasn't what the band was saying, was it?
No, it wasn't. And in fact, the band came out on Instagram and they said, we're receiving in English because it was gaining quite a lot of traction. And they said, we're receiving a lot of messages regarding this video. It's fake news. We're actually saying c'est la batuca, which means it's the batuca, the name of our batucada band. And Lula was not insulted during our show. So France 24's observers also spoke to a member of the band, of the group. Her name is Clara Bruno, and she explained that on the contrary, the Batucada band had been really looking forward to playing for the former president, and they were shocked when the video was hijacked by pro-Bolsonaro supporters. And this video was initially fact-checked by several Brazilian fact-checking sites. And they're working overtime these days because since 2018, when Jair Bolsonaro took power, fake news has quadrupled in Brazil. So it's really a tidal wave of disinformation. And this video seems like quite a fatuous example of it, but it's just a tiny part of a huge problem. And it's been shared particularly on WhatsApp, which is even harder to monitor, of course, than other social media platforms. And as this article in America's Quarterly explains, Brazil has some of the world's highest usage rates of social media. It's also, of course, very polarized with very low levels of trust in government. And that makes it especially fertile ground for fake news. And this sort of thing goes all the way to the top because not only do a lot of government officials spread fake news, but famously President Bolsonaro himself. He was even suspended by YouTube in October for a week for sharing a false vaccine claim. So in Brazil, there's this really heightened debate over fake news, and it's a lot murkier and harder to decipher what's true from what's false.
And of course, elections are next year, so perhaps that's why his supporters are doing overtime there, putting out some messages to discredit his opposition. Thank you very much indeed, Emerald Maxwell, for today's edition of Truth or